Hello, we're with Wendy Walker. We're actually in New York on the Upper East Side. We're in this gorgeous little bookstore called the Corner Bookstore. And Wendy's here to talk about All Is Not Forgotten, her new novel. It's a suspense thriller, but I'll let Wendy tell you all about it.
So All Is Not Forgotten is a psychological thriller. It is actually premised on memory science, which is happening right now, and it sort of takes that premise and the science to the next level, and really explores this concept of treating trauma by altering and erasing memories. And so it has that element to it. I think it's great for book groups to talk about, but it has a huge twist at the end, an unreliable narrator, and lots of good stuff going on. So
Wendy, it was recently our book of the week, and I've noticed in the comments that a lot of our reading community, they either have read it or want to read it and recommending it to each other. Now, Reese Witherspoon's production company has already snapped up the rights to the movie. How does that feel, and how did it happen?
Oh, it's absolutely thrilling. It's really an author's dream to have Reese Witherspoon sign on to a book. She has a book group, and she's a voracious reader and a very discriminating reader, and she really looks for books that have strong female characters.
She does.
Yeah, so she actually snapped this up the same week the U.S. rights were sold. So it all happened, in one fell swoop, and it was just a dream come true.
I can imagine it's a dream come true. The book's premise is based on a real-life, highly controversial technique of erasing traumatic memories.
Yes.
I mean, it's really frightening in a way. What are your views on these kinds of treatments, given that in the book it wasn't too successful?
So I think it's absolutely miraculous, the things that they know now about our memories and how they're stored and recalled and then refiled. And it's really wonderful, some of these treatments they have now, that they can actually reduce the impact of trauma by reconsolidating the memory of the trauma and making the emotional component less painful. But there, when you take that to the extreme, and some of the other treatments that they're developing actually involve erasing the factual component of the memory, and I think that's where it gets very different, especially when it comes to crime, because then, as the book deals with, you go into the concepts of not being able to get justice if you can't testify or even identify the perpetrator. And also it goes to our humanity. What are we if we are not the sum of all of our memories? Isn't that what...
Well, there's also the physical as well, and the
Yes.
environmental. So you might forget it, but the people around you don't.
That's true.
There is so much going on.
That's true.
As I said, it's a controversial treatment, and we'll see how that pans out.
Yes.
But very, very compelling premise in the book.
Yeah, it made for a great premise, and actually that was the impetus for the book, was reading an article in the New York Times about these treatments, and I thought this has to be a novel, because when you apply these treatments to crimes, it's going to just lead to so many controversial issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And the book is quite controversial. Now, it is a deeply chilling thriller, as we've said.
Yes.
It is a world away from your previous books. I know you've written many books, but you have also edited the Chicken Soup for the Soul series,
Yes.
which I remember selling bucket loads when I was a
Yes.
bookseller.
Yes.
And that really is a major shift, I guess, in terms of genre, from that to this.
Yes.
Is it that all writers can write about everything? I don't know.
I don't know. I actually was writing. I wrote some novels in the women's fiction space. They were a little bit dark as well. And then I edited some editions for Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is a very different process. And it was my agent who really encouraged me to develop this story, because as a thriller, because it really fit in that genre.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful switch for me. It was just a perfect fit for the way I like to write, and the darkness that I was already bringing to my my other novels. So I don't think I'll be writing anything but thrillers going forward. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, thrillers are very popular.
Yes.
They're very popular with our readers,
Yes.
and particularly thrillers written by female authors. It's an
Yes.
upcoming genre in Australia anyway, and I'm not quite sure about the US. But
Oh, absolutely!
yeah.
It really exploded with Gone Girl, and there have been a lot of books
Absolutely.
in that space. This sort of takes it to the next level because it's not the narrator is not a woman, and the structure of the book is actually a little bit different than the other thrillers in the same space. But it does have a very strong female character, and I think that's what appeals to women. But it's interesting how many women writers have gone into this space, and they're just really doing so well.
Because traditionally it was such a male-dominated space, wasn't it? And we've seen
Absolutely.
that change in the last few years, and we're loving it
Absolutely.
entirely.
Yeah, and then the focus on psychological thrillers and the psychological suspense rather than the situational suspense, I think, is what's really appealing to a lot of readers.
Well, Wendy, I can't thank you enough for one, writing the book, and two, for coming all the way from Connecticut to New York to chat with us. It's been an absolute thrill talking with you. All Is Not Forgotten by Wendy Walker. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favour and get yourself a copy.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm thrilled to be here, and I love reader feedback and comments, so thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.